kind of to tie this all together, if you're doing embryos, and clearly there's a next step if you want to pursue pregnancy, and once you're done, then what? Like for me, like it gets done and then you put them, and then patients come back and find you or have another conversation when they're ready to conceive or to have.
Again, everyone's situation is different, right? So if you're in a situation where you now have a partner, you know, a lot of times people will say, all right, we want to try naturally, which is, we as a fertility industry should support that.
Right.
You know, it depends on age, obviously. So I think if you're, you know, 39, it's different than you're 44, right? But at the end of the day, you froze your eggs for a reason. If you want to try naturally, you should try naturally, right? But at the end of the day, the process is, you know, I like to think of it as you did half of the IVF process. You know, I think the big question you need to answer when you come back to thaw your eggs is, well, how many do I want to thaw, right?
Oh.
That's another kind of, okay, if you have 20, do I thaw all 20? Do I thaw 10? You know, what would be the consideration that goes into that? And I think that different doctors have different opinions on that. My opinion is that you shouldn't thaw all your eggs. What if, you know, there's an issue with the thaw? What if the media or the lab has a bad, I mean, who knows? I mean, things,
different factors.
These are humans, right? So they're not machines doing it the same way every single time. I mean, obviously there's standards, and you fall within a standard error so that overall the quality is well controlled. But I don't see why you would want to kind of thaw, I mean, besides cost, why you would want to thaw all your eggs in one go, right? And then, okay, let's say you thaw half your eggs and you get 2 or 3 good embryos, you know, you get pregnant, you have a baby. I mean, you have those eggs still. Who knows what you might need them for in the future? So that's the first consideration if you're going to go through that second half of the process that I think people should really think about very carefully. And the other thing is thawing the eggs is not a difficult process, right? It doesn't require a lot of involvement from you, right? We take the sperm sample and everything happens in the lab. Then moving forward with an embryo transfer, obviously we need to evaluate the uterus. We need to evaluate, you know, everything.
If everything's ready. Yeah.
Right. But even that, I mean, there's different ways to do an embryo transfer, from really complicated to a natural cycle. So I think there's been a huge evolution, and you know, it kind of fits a different patient's kind of desires, personality, you know, anxiety levels, right? So you really kind of have to look at that as well independently.
Well, thank you so much, because I feel like things that I did know, things that I had still questions about, and just it's so revelatory right now. And even knowing that they're frozen, there will be one day that I might have to use them.
Absolutely.
And so thank you, because it has changed. And from the process that I saw and experienced when I was 33 to what is happening now, and how doctors are really, in the best way possible, just holding our hands and allowing us to be individuals and not have to fit a one-size-fits-all for this very emotional process.
Extremely emotional, yes.
So thank you for providing your insight and your guidance, and to just be able to, I know that this subject has been and can be so taboo, and it is very personal, but the more information, the more we know.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that I wish I would have known years back, and I'm glad I do now, and I hope that we can impart that on anybody else who's thinking on doing this process.
I mean, I even just from the time I started to now, the amount of people willing to speak about this, even to a stranger at a party, or, you know, on the subway, somebody, you know, sees a fertility, you know, bag. We have bags with our logo on it. Routinely, you know, my staff has been approached. It's like, oh, you know, this 20 years ago, we went to your fertility group, and that's the, you know, they would point to their child. I mean, you know, really cool stuff. But I think it's become less taboo, and I think the more people that talk about it, the more the information will be out there, the more support networks you'll be able to create.
Yeah.
You know, you don't necessarily have to have a group of friends that are going through it. You can actually find a support network even online. You know, Facebook groups, that sort of thing. These things exist and people use them.
Yeah, and that it's not, that is more common than we think it is. And
Right.
it doesn't mean that something's wrong with you if you choose to
Correct.
do this. And I think that was one of the biggest things that we are dismantling now, that it is just such a natural part of, you know, as we evolve as humans, as things shift and we have our own individual journeys, that this is an option.
Yes. And it's something that you're doing for yourself. And, you know, you just want to have that ability to have a flexible future.
Yes.
You know, and the future is your decision, whatever you want to do. But if you didn't have this technology, perhaps it wouldn't be quite so empowering in a way. You would kind of just, okay, when I'm ready, and who's to say when you're ready, it's going to be feasible,
Yeah.
right? So that's, even if you don't freeze your eggs, you know, fertility doctors are there to guide you as to where kind of your reproductive health is right now. You know, even OBGYNs, they've caught on,
Yeah.
right? They'll have a patient come in and they'll have the conversation. Hey, you know, you're 35. Have you frozen your eggs? Do you have a partner? Have you thought about when you want to start having a baby? This is where the initial thought kind of enters into a patient's mind. Oh, you know what? I thought about this. I saw it on Instagram,
Yeah.
or, you know, my friend did it a year ago. Thanks for bringing it up. I'm going to go think about it a little more. It might not happen the first time someone mentions it or the second time, but once you keep seeing it all around you, you start to kind of develop this idea in your head, and then at some point it clicks.